Necessity, about a classic Batman that nobody wanted. From the best-selling, critically acclaimed comics to the live-action and animated television shows to the blockbuster movies. Okay, maybe not all the movies. The Caped Crusader has found its audience no matter the decade or the medium. If you'll excuse the obvious pun, Bruce Wayne has a pretty good batting average. By the late 1990s, Batman was king of the animated hill. On the heels of Batman the Animated Series, executive producers Bruce Timm and Paul Dini followed up the genre-defining hit with the new Batman adventures, refining the distinctive animation style of Batman the Animated Series that became known as Dark Deco. This new series focused more on the Bat family than on Bruce Wayne and his lonely crusade. Airing on what was then known as the Kids WB, the New Adventures of Batman was a hit. Fans loved it, the ratings were strong, and the addition of an entire Bat family to model action figures from made the toy companies happy. But after barely a year on the air, New Adventures would have its plug pulled.
I'm not sure I can adequately describe it. It was surreal and disappointing and shocking, and it had the rug pulled out from under us. It was just like, oh, crap, seriously?
Why was the decision made? Well, you can at least partially blame Dawson. At the time, the WB network was Teen Central. Thanks to shows like Dawson's Creek, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and Felicity, the network had a stranglehold on younger viewers. So they told the Batman production team they wanted a new Batman cartoon for the Kids WB with a teenaged Caped Crusader.
I don't know if this was like toy line related or what, but I think Buffy was doing really well for them, so I think they wanted a version of Batman similar to Buffy.
The producers all just knew that teenage Batman would be a nightmare, because it's well established in comics canon that teenage Bruce Wayne had not yet become the Dark Knight, and it didn't fit into the mythology of the animated universe they had spent the 90s building. And so, in a meeting with WB executives, Bruce Timm turned to an idea born of desperation.
So I said, so if there was some way that we could come up with a teenage Batman show that was still in continuity, that still built off of the shows that we'd already done, the only way to do that is to go forward into the future and introduce a new character, some Batman.
If the idea was a desperate Hail Mary, fortunately, WB network executive Jamie Kellner was there to catch it.
Jamie's reaction was, it was kind of odd. I remember this specifically. He said, yeah, so it's like the new generation of samurai passing his sword on to his protege. And I thought, well, I don't really know what that's about, but yeah, like that. And he said, great, let's do that. But you got a green light. He said, I want this show for next fall. And we're just like, duh, what?
In Hollywood, getting a green light is usually cause for celebration, and there's no industry where being your own champion is more necessary. So the first hurdle to clear was tall and glaring. The producers weren't sold on their own pitch.
Like, oh, I don't want to do this stupid show. I don't want to do teenage Batman, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I want to keep doing the show we're doing, even though we knew that was pretty much a lost cause. And so we just kind of walked away grumbling, not really very enthusiastic about it.
And I remember Bruce coming back from the meeting and telling me about it. And I said, that sounds cool. We should do it. And I think Bruce said he wasn't sure about the idea until he pitched it to me.
He said, yeah, futuristic show, teenage Batman, and we can kind of do all that Spider-Man stuff, the torture hero, he's got to balance his schoolwork and his love life and being a superhero. We can totally come up with our own stylish version of futuristic Gotham. And it's like, yeah, I think it would be fun. And I kind of went, well, yeah, you're kind of talking me into it.
Timm was slowly coming around to the idea of the new series, but an enormous problem still remained. Getting a show from pitch to production in a matter of months is unheard of in animated television. In short, it was time to start panicking. Part of Bruce Timm's initial hesitance with the request from the WB was the fear of losing an established and popular continuity. A brand new show and a brand new branch of the legacy was a perilous way to proceed, something that was not lost on every member of the crew, including voice director Andrea Romano.
we were creating a series that was not based on established material, whereas Batman was, Superman was, Teen Titans even was, based on existing material. This was something that we were kind of going to create ourselves.
So, in some respects, out of a desire to not be vilified by Bat fandom, the team had to be sure the series was tied to their canon, and one actor was able to do that by himself. Casting Kevin Conroy as Old Man Bruce was a no-brainer. Using the definitive voice of The Dark Knight confirmed Batman Beyond's place in the same continuity as Batman the Animated Series, but, like everybody else, Conroy took a little convincing.
They said, well, we want to do a new Batman show. And I thought, oh, great. This is great, another show. They said, but you're not going to be Batman. I said, wait a minute. That doesn't sound so good.
While Conroy rooted that series in their established canon, the network mandate for a fresh and futuristic take on The Dark Knight still needed addressing.
We were still using the same Bruce Wayne, just as a much older character. So there had to be some similarities and yet some differences.
There was a veritable stampede of young Hollywood stars looking to nab the role of Terry McGinnis, but it was Will Friedle, an actor from ABC's TGIF sitcom Boy Meets World, that quickly got everyone's attention.
To be honest with you, I think the thing that I did other people might not have done, which might have been one of the things that gave me a little bit of a leg up on getting the role, which was I loved the Michael Keaton Batmans. You know, this was obviously pre-Christian Bale. So in the Michael Keaton Batmans, I thought he really paid respect to the fact that Batman and Bruce Wayne were two very different characters. Distinctly remember doing half of the audition as Terry and then half deepening the voice and doing it as Batman.
To Conroy, Bruce's decision to permanently turn the suit over to someone else and accept that his hero days are over is one of the triumphs of Batman Beyond, and an aspect of Bruce Wayne that has rarely been portrayed in the mythos.
That shows extraordinary growth on Bruce Wayne's part. Oddly, it becomes the most fulfilling relationship he's ever had, is the one he has with Terry McGinnis. It's like a son. It's that fulfillment that a parent has with a child.
But even with Conroy sold and the all-important futuristic teenage Batman cast, Bruce Timm faced yet another issue. The writers were still struggling to wrap their heads around the initial pitch. Writers had trouble scripting a Batman show where Bruce Wayne wasn't Batman.
Literally, most of the shows, literally all their pitches were about Bruce Wayne. And it was just like, you know what? I love old man Bruce Wayne. I think he's fascinating and fun because he's ancient and he's cranky and he's more of a bastard than he ever was, but he's not the star of our show.
The bedrock of the show was Terry McGinnis, and so it wasn't Bruce Wayne. When you look at it, the heart of that show is Terry McGinnis. Bruce Wayne is kind of along for the ride.
All of our freelance writers, nobody understood it. Nobody could get it. So we literally had to break like all of the stories in-house.
Ultimately, they did get help from writer Stan Berkowitz, a member of the DC animated family that had moved to live-action drama after his Emmy-winning time on Superman. He returned to script the back half of the two-part series premiere of Batman Beyond, titled Rebirth, which aired in primetime on January 10, 1999, and he made it clear he had no intention of writing Terry as just another young Bruce Wayne.
It would be impossible for me to imagine a character, a teenager that dark, that damaged. The whole point of doing the series was to do one, have a hero who is younger and could appeal to younger people. Well, you make him someone who thinks he knows a lot, and he's got the raw material. No, you didn't know that much, and you made a mistake here, you made a mistake there, but you're learning.
While the writing team sorted out the foundation of the show, the production and design team was dealing with problems of their own. All they had to do was create a whole new world, complete with a brand new group of villains for a show they had to start making right now. As the sprint to deliver the hastily pitched and approved show on an unheard-of schedule began, there was still work left to be done on the new Batman Adventures and Superman the Animated Series.
It's kind of all a blur to me because at one point we were finishing Superman, finishing Batman, and doing Batman Beyond at the same time.
We were like on the machine with that other show, and they basically said, we have to produce a whole new show, and also it's set in the future, so none of the stock designs that we use on Superman and Batman will apply.
We just had to generate a lot of artwork really, really quickly. We would kind of go into a meeting and we would like sort of throw out a bunch of drawings, and then we would start shaping what the show was.
As the two main characters, Terry and Bruce were the backbone of the show, but a Batman is only as good as his rogues gallery. Batman Beyond needed bad guys. Time was short, and Tim was adamant about not simply recycling the classic villains. Once again, what seemed like a problem turned out to be a huge opportunity for the show's staff, who soon set out to create an entirely new roster of baddies.
And Bruce pulled all the artists who could do it into a room and said, we need villains. He basically just threw it out there, basically developed the show in a room. And we were just throwing out ideas out there and literally just drawing.
That frenzied method, sketch first, concept later, led to the creation of memorable foes like Ink and Shriek.
At least in one case that I know, that the noise guy Shriek. Basically, Glenn drew the picture, and then I was just handed the picture and Alan said, "Here, Glenn just did this. It has something to do with sound. Figure out something."
I wanted this show to be Terry's show. I didn't want Terry necessarily to be fighting all of Bruce's villains. I didn't think that was interesting.
More than just updating the villains for the show's new Dark Knight, Batman Beyond modernized the Batman mythos thematically as well, exploring the dark side of technology and science's impact on society. And there's no better place to showcase a sweeping stylistic shift than a show's title sequence, and Batman Beyond's was a stunner. Putting the series' cyberpunk influences front and center, the titles are a breathtaking montage of multimedia images designed by the late great cartoonist Darwin Cook.
Darwin assembled it all in After Effects back in the days when it took forever just to render a single scene. It's just like kind of mind-blowing when I look back on it now. It's like it's a pretty sophisticated piece of film for 1999 technology. There's a James Tucker shot. I designed a bunch of stuff. So it was definitely a collaboration.
That shot of Batman standing and he turns with the Jokers, that's an action figure that Bruce kit bashed into Batman Beyond. It's on like a little Lazy Susan kind of thing. Bruce kind of moved the camera and rotated it, and it's just two pieces of artwork that are doing this as the Batman is rotating in the center. That's all it is.
That shot of Bruce Wayne that everybody thinks is CG, that's literally a sculpture. That's a 3D sculpture. I stuck that literally on a Lazy Susan on my kitchen table and spun it around and shot it with my home video camera. Darwin took that image and digitized it, and it gives it that weird kind of CG kind of look.
In a lot of ways, it's really low tech, but I think everyone thinks it's really high tech.
The show was coming together, mixing the demands of the network with solutions that made the concept more and more intriguing to the creative team. The idea that nobody wanted to make was sounding better all the time. To them. But what about the fans?
From the minute we announced the show was going to happen, all of our fans were just like, they already wrote it off. They were just like, oh my God, this sounds horrible. This is going to be terrible. Teenage Batman. It's going to be for kids.
If keeping the continuity from their previous shows was important, keeping the audience from those shows was crucial. They had a lot to prove right out of the gate, and to do that, they had to start with a bang. The series premiere features an aging Batman in the year 2019. While trying to stop a kidnapping, Bruce grabs a gun as a last resort. The act of desperation convinces him to retire the Dark Knight.
Never again.
The first two-parter, everything about that show is so much more adult and darker and uglier than pretty much anything we had done in any of our shows up until that point. So it was kind of like, we knew that when we had that shot of Batman, retiree age Batman, pointing a gun at a criminal, we knew that was like the best way to slap those guys upside the head and say, nope, this is a good show and you're going to love it.
The story jumps ahead 20 years from there, and Neo-Gotham has risen. Terry McGinnis is attacked by the Joker's street gang, only to be saved by an elderly Bruce Wayne. Terry soon discovers the old man used to be Batman, and after Terry's father is killed by the Jokers as retaliation, Bruce offers to train him to become the new Batman Gotham needs. As the show premiered, even with the banger of an opening, the response wasn't exactly positive at first.
It wasn't overnight by any means, and it was all hate at first. By the end of our first season, people were begrudgingly going, oh, okay.
And yet, by August 2000, Warner Brothers Pictures had hired Remember the Titans director Boaz Yakin to make a live-action adaptation of Beyond. Batman Beyond co-creators Paul Dini and Alan Burnett were even hired to co-write the film. And while the project ultimately stalled, it's clear that studio execs saw the appeal the character had to fans. After 3 seasons and 1 feature film, the series came to an end in December of 2001. Nearly 4 years later, what was essentially the series finale of Batman Beyond aired on Justice League Unlimited. The episode Epilogue retconned, using some serious superhero science, that Bruce Wayne was actually Terry McGinnis' father. However, beyond that, there has been no real movement on a possible Batman Beyond revival, but fans keep asking anyway.
I get that a lot from people these days, like, oh, when are you guys going to bring back BTAS? Or when are you going to do more Batman Beyond? It's just kind of like, well, you know, it's always tempting to go back to those worlds. But at the same time, it's also kind of like, oh, man, you don't want to go back and screw the pooch. You know, you don't want to, like, disappoint people with, you know, they have so many high expectations for those shows. At the same time, if I got a really good opportunity to do something more in those worlds, I probably would not be able to resist the temptation to do it.
Despite its unlikely origin as a project nobody wanted, today Batman Beyond is a beloved part of the DC animated universe. And that means something different for everyone involved in the creation of the show. But one thing seems to be true for all of them. It validated their commitment to taking a big risk.
At first, it was something we were dreading, and then it became something we really got into and loved. And we thought of it as something where we were actually contributing to the Batman mythos, something unique, something that didn't exist before.
The network wanted a new Batman, a teenage Batman, like Buffy, only from the future. Bruce Timm and his team didn't even want to make the show at first. It was an idea beyond saving, they thought. But the more they worked on it, the more they came to love the concept, as did the fans. A teenage future Batman with an old Bruce Wayne as his mentor? Hell yeah. In the years since the show went off the air, Terry McGinnis has persisted in comics, games, and of course on DVD, Blu-ray, and streaming. And with the constantly changing state of the DC film universe, the future of Batman Beyond is always filled with hope.
This is unbearably cool.
Do you know what my people call this past year? The Long Halloween.
The holiday killer's covering his tracks.
I'm here to cut a deal. You want Falcone, and I got plenty on him.
Heads, I'll take it. Your father went into business with the Roman, and how many innocent lives did he end up trading for it?
Where'd you find them?
You're not going to like it.
When you were coming up, you wouldn't have thought to hire freaks.
Times change.
It's hard to believe the man who stood on this roof and made that promise would cross the line.
Everyone's invited to this party.
Twinkle, twinkle, little bat. How I wonder what you're... What is this? Judgment Day.
Robert Dubois. He's in prison for putting Superman in the ICU with a kryptonite bullet.
I'm not joining your suicide squad.
We'll see.
My court date is coming up. And Miss Waller said maybe you could help me out.
You're flexing in my door!
Everyone stand down.
Miss Waller, I don't...
Stand down!
I wouldn't take such extreme measures if this mission went more important than you could possibly imagine. Are you in or out? Good. Let's meet your team.
It's okay, I'm not okay.
Each member is chosen for his or her own completely unique set of abilities.
I need to feel the raindrops on my head, on my head.
Hey guys, sorry I'm late. Had to go number 2.
Good to know.
Is this thing a dog?
A dog? What kind of dog do you think it is, mate?
I'm gonna go with Afghan Hound.
Oh my God, is it a werewolf?
Yo, they turned me into a werewolf! Yo, let me out!
Hey, he's not a werewolf, okay? He's a weasel. He's harmless. I mean, he's not harmless. He's killed 27 children, but, you know.
Your mission is to destroy every trace of something known only as Project Starfish. Any questions?
Starfish is a slang term for a butthole. Think there's any connection?
No.
No. All right. Let's get it. This is suicide.
Well, that's kind of our thing.
I'm a superhero!
Where's my dad?
I'm gonna get you out of real life.
I'm going to get you out of here alive.
Ratatouille, what do you got?
Bird.
Now it. Stay off the comm.
What's up, everybody? IGN Executive Editor of Commerce and proud U.S. Air Force Senior Airman Seth Mesa here to break down all the biggest announcements, trailers, and news from San Diego Comic-Con. This is IGN's coverage of the coverage presented by USAA Insurance. USAA makes it easy to do business with personalized solutions for your insurance needs. With USAA, get exceptional service for when the unexpected occurs. But now, let's get to the news. Comic-Con at Home just kicked off with a ton of things to keep an eye on. Earlier this year, we got a tease that a new Dragon Ball Super movie was in production, and now it has an official name, releasing sometime in 2022. Dragon Ball Super Superhero has finally been revealed, and that's about it. But series producer Akio Ioku said the title teases that the movie is about superhero vibes. The same panel also made sure to mention new designs of several known characters, so keep your eyes peeled for more info. Amazon finally revealed a release window for their upcoming Wheel of Time series based on the Robert Jordan novels of the same name. Showrunner Rafe Judkins confirmed that the show was hitting Prime Video in November 2021, which, according to my calculations, is about 4 months away. For those hungry for more Star Trek, I have good news. The Star Trek Universe panel showed off a teaser trailer for the upcoming Paramount Plus animated show, Star Trek Prodigy. Prodigy follows a group of young aliens who discover a Federation starship and must learn how to fly and work together along the way under the tutelage of a holographic version of legendary Star Trek Voyager's Captain Janeway. Star Trek Prodigy premieres on Paramount Plus in the United States sometime this fall. Evangelion director Hideaki Anno wants to return to the realm of live action. Anno revealed that, quote, making a live action video is totally different from animation because I can do a lot of things that I can't do with animation. That's why I'm really looking forward to it. I want to do things that are only possible in live action, end quote. He's already proven himself with Shin Godzilla, a bona fide masterpiece, and has Shin Kamen Rider on the horizon. And that does it for today's coverage of the coverage. What do you think of all the announcements? Let us know in the comments below. And remember, with claims done right and savings you deserve, USAA provides good value for your money. Make sure you've got the right coverage with USAA Insurance. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. Property and casualty insurance provided by United Services Automobile Association and its affiliate property and casualty insurance companies is available only to persons eligible for PNC Group membership. Each company has sole financial responsibility for its own products.
Showtime. The Fun Doctor is in, and they're prescribing 10 cc's of Comic-Con stat. Get ready for a tidal wave of trailers, a plethora of panels, a crackling Tesla coil of the biggest and latest in comics, gaming, and entertainment. It all starts right now on IGN Live Summer Entertainment Preview. No, I will not calm down.
Hello and welcome to Day 2 of IGN Live's Summer Entertainment Preview, your one-stop spot to get all the big news coming out of the numerous Comic-Con panels that are happening right now, plus other announcements and reveals about what is coming down the pipe in the world of movies, TV, comics, and so on.
That's Max, by the way. I'm Akeem. He gets too excited and forgets his manners. I can't take him anywhere.
That's okay. I can be rude from home, and there's still plenty to get excited about. Coming up today, we are talking to Suicide Squad's David Dastmalchian, who's made quite a career playing DC villains, including Polka Dot Man, Calendar Man, and Ambulance Man.
Yeah, the man in the ambulance in the Dark Knight, not like an ambulance-themed supervillain. You got to specify that, Max. And we'll also be checking in with M Night Shyamalan about his newest movie, Old. Plus, we're breaking down the biggest movies of the year, as well as taking a look at the future of Star Wars with a live episode of Canon Fodder.
But here, first, to help us round up a bunch of news announcements, reveals, leaks, rumors, fan theories, and juicy nerd gossip, and really just whatever else has come out of Comic-Con so far, here's Kim Horscher. What's up, Kim?
Hey, Max, that was the best intro I've ever had, so thank you for that. There were quite a few announcements today that were really exciting. The first I'm going to start you with is Blade Runner Black Lotus. Now, we kind of got an idea about this coming out before, but today we got to have a look at the show coming out via Crunchyroll and Adult Swim. It's set in 2032 between Blackout, which was an incredible animated short that I think we all might be bringing up a little bit later, and after the first movie, of course, prior to 2049, which is the sequel. And while speaking of 2049, the creators of this actually went to the set of that and talked to Roger Deakins about lighting, which is very important in the Blade Runner world. We have Jessica Henwick starring as Elle, who is a female replicant who wakes up not knowing who she is, where she is. She only has a tattoo as a clue. So this, of course, explores the classic question, what is it to be human? A very Blade Runner question indeed.
Now, this is a studio that has some experience dealing with that very issue of cyborgs wondering if they're human. They also did that most recent sort of Ghost in the Shell CGI anime.
Standalone complex.
Yeah, I totally wasn't expecting this to be CGI. Akeem, what's your vibe on this?
Well, I think the general consensus on the internet, we were all kind of expecting it to be similar to Blackout 2022. I'm going to say this right now. Shout out to senior creative director over at Toonami, Adult Swim, Jason DeMarco. He's the man. But I'm going to say this respectfully. This ain't it, Chief. I'm saying that right now. The thing is, like, I don't know how to feel about just looking at the animation. Like, first off, the pro tag, she gives me, I would say, Battle Angel, Alita vibes, which is good. You know, that's a great franchise in and of itself. But the question I think a lot of people are asking, why CG animation with this? Like, especially since Blackout was so well done. Now, they actually addressed that in the panel. That with that particular short, you know, they tapped a lot of veteran animators for this short, you know, and obviously with this being a 13 episode long series, it'll be kind of hard to get all these people in one room to produce this 13 episode series. But you know, they did their due diligence, which is great. They went to the set and they found out about lighting and everything. But you know, they went with a studio, Sola Digital Arts, which I mean, their portfolio. You know, it's a portfolio. You could say. I don't know how impressive it is, but I don't know. I don't get Blade Runner
really
vibes
from this. To really just compare this to Blackout, because I mean that was the best of the best animation we've seen. Yep. And then this is decidedly very different. I'm happy to be back in this world, personally. I'm a big fan of Jessica Henwick, so you know, maybe if we don't hold it up on that pedestal, we could enter with you know, maybe different expectations.
It's such an odd choice because like I feel like Blackout was released around 2049 to kind of hype that up, and this just kind of exists on its own, but aside from, you know, having a spinner and obviously some, I don't know, some familiar corporations, like what makes it Blade Runner? You know, like it's funny because we talk about like Battle Angel Alita, we talk about Ghost in the Shell, and it's like Blade Runner has been so, it's inspired so much other, you know, cyberpunk media that like, why not just make something why not make something new? You know, it's an odd choice, and it's like, what is this? I mean, are we going to get another Blade Runner movie at some point? I kind of doubt it, but I mean, this is okay, I guess.
Well, it was described as very dystopian, anti-capitalist. You know, it's a very large divide between the wealthy and the poor, and sort of finding the struggle of the individual within society. I mean, those are key to Blade Runner, though you could argue they're key to most cyberpunk themed entertainment as well. I did like seeing just some of the visual hallmarks of Blade Runner in there, at least.
They did get the lighting does kind of have that Deacon's haze to it. Like it's not here so much, but this is Blackout, which is considerably flatter. But I feel like it's got, you know, there's such a visual smog in 2049, and I think they got that a bit too, which is cool. I mean, it's interesting to see them experimenting with it, but again, it's sort of like, I don't know, is it like, what would we care if this didn't say Blade Runner on it, you know?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I feel like if you didn't put Blade Runner in the title, this could be just any, I'm sorry to say, kind of like generic cyberpunk, futuristic type, you know, animated series. I don't know what exactly makes it Blade Runner-esque outside of the lighting that we saw. Even the music doesn't that they had in the trailer doesn't necessarily strike me as something you would hear in any Blade Runner iteration. So I don't know. I don't know why they didn't stick with Flying Lotus. That soundtrack that they had in 2022 was amazing. But you know what? I'll be here for it because, you know, it's partially my job to watch this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know,
I'll watch it.
It's better that than, I don't know, like a reality show where people put on animal makeup or something. And,
yes,
you know, whatever they're doing over on Netflix.
I did watch that too. So
okay, I mean, what are we gonna do? Go hiking? We're gonna sit inside and watch cyberpunk stuff. That's the dystopia we live in. Anyway, speaking of I don't know, bleak futures, we also got some updates on the Walking Dead universe. Kim, what's going on over there?
All right, well, we have 3 Walking Dead shows to talk about today that got panels today. One of the 2 that's ending, or not ending, rather. This is the one that's not ending. It's Fear the Walking Dead Season 7. It will be premiering on Sunday, October 17th. And we're continuing where we left in the last season with just nuclear fallout and dealing with that on top of also there's zombies and bad people. I think this could be really interesting. So notably, the showrunner Ian Goldberg talked about his different influences that were going into this. And specifically, he name-checked Mad Max, The Hills Have Eyes, The Never-Ending Story, and The Wrestler as influences for this season, which are kind of not picks that I would expect, per se, for this.
I mean, I don't know. I'm hoping we see some flying dog or something, or like a zombie-esque dog or something. I'm hoping for that. It's what's interesting with this is like they're approaching territory that we haven't seen in any Walking Dead franchise, be it World Beyond, which I know we'll get to later on, or The Walking Dead, the original. They're in a nuclear apocalypse. So not only are they dealing with zombies, they're dealing with like the nuclear fallout as well. And what's interesting about Fear the Walking Dead, when it first started, season 1 and 2, I remember watching season 1 and season 2 and thinking, I don't know how long this is going to last, because they start at the beginning of the apocalypse, just before it hits, and they started off in LA. And as things progress, they caught up with The Walking Dead. Which is why we've seen the OG Walking Dead cast member Morgan jump back and forth between Fear the Walking Dead and The Walking Dead. Now, clearly, actually, it's not clear because it's not like they have calendars in these shows. But I think it might be safe to say that Fear the Walking Dead has moved beyond where we currently, possibly beyond where we are with the original series. But I just really like the way that they're going, the direction they're going with this. Also, in the trailer, there's a baby crying in the beginning, so Morgan's going to be a papa, and it's good that he has. I think his girlfriend is a nuclear scientist.
Yeah, I don't want to cut you off. Grace is a nuclear scientist.
I don't want to cut you off, Kim. We got a couple updates on the other 2 Walking Dead shows. Kim, can you run us through those real quick?
Yes, speaking of Beyond, we have The Walking Dead World Beyond. Season 2 is coming October 3rd. This is its final season, 2 of 2. And speaking to what Akeem said earlier, this season, or this show, according to Scott Gimple, is touching on a lot of various Walking Dead shows. From it's something that fills in different pieces that maybe we're missing. He specifically said this season especially is in between stories from other stories. It really does fill in story gaps or knowledge that the audience doesn't have. It gets more and more intense as it goes on.
And do we get an update on season 11 of regular Walking Dead?
Yes, we absolutely do. There will be 24 episodes in season 11, the final season, split into 3 8-episode parts. 11B and 11C are coming next year. 11A comes August 22nd, a week earlier if you have the AMC's premium service.
Damn.
And we're looking a lot at Lauren Cohen was talking about how Maggie is going to have to deal with having to be on the same side as Negan, the man who killed her husband and the father of her child. And the Reapers will be the villains of this season.
Cool. There's clearly no shortage of Walking Dead stuff. There's tons more pop culture news to come, and we're going to be discussing it right here on IGN Live. Right now, Akeem, what is happening next?
Well, I'm so glad you asked, Max. Coming up in a sec, we've got Suicide Squad's David Dastmalchian, and we're also talking to M Night Shyamalan about his brand new horror movie, Old. All that and so much more are coming up in IGN's Summer Entertainment Preview up in just a sec, so don't go anywhere.
IGN Live is presented by Free Guy. Experience it only in theaters August 13th and by USAA Insurance. Not only is IGN the world's biggest media brand for games and entertainment, but we also have a team of some of the world's biggest fans of your favorite franchises. From breaking news and exclusives, never-before-seen looks at movies and games, to reviews, Let's Plays, and live streams, IGN brings you all the coverage you need, no matter where you are. Whether you're on IGN.com, the IGN app, YouTube, Facebook, or Snapchat, we've always got you covered. IGN, the #1 source for all games and entertainment fans worldwide.
Everybody loves watching a speedrun of their favorite game, but what if you got a chance to peek into the mind of the developers behind those games as they watch their hard work get completely destroyed right in front of them?
What is happening right now?
That's exactly what happens on every episode of Devs React to Speedruns. We invite you to ride along with the developers as they watch, react, and enjoy some of the craziest gameplay by the most skilled speedrunners on the planet. Tune in every Saturday for a brand new episode.
In a world with non-stop news about Marvel, DC, Star Wars, you need a show with accurate reporting, hard-hitting commentary, and
me, Akeem Lawanson, host of IGN's news show, The Fix Entertainment. Whether it's the latest superhero scoop, film fiasco, or anime announcement, I'll be here covering all the breaking movie, TV, and streaming news that matters most to you. Make sure to catch The Fix Entertainment on IGN for your fix of entertainment news. Let's drop it. Welcome back to IGN Live Summer Entertainment Preview. From The Dark Knight to Ant-Man, David Dastmalchian is no stranger to comic book movies. And in the brand new Suicide Squad movie, as well as Batman The Long Halloween, things are only getting crazier for him. Now let's check in with David Dastmalchian and find out more.
Hey everybody, I'm Dave Dastmalchian. I'm an actor, writer, sometimes even a comic book creator. Speaking of comic books, I've actually been in a number of DC stories as an actor, and I've played a bunch, and oh my gosh, now I'm starting to count them up. Boy, there's a lot to talk about here. You know, what draws me to playing all of these DC characters is, since I was a kid, I have been collecting comic books. And I will be honest, I always loved the Marvel superheroes and the DC villains the best. There was something about the way the DC pantheon of bad guys and gals has been created over the decades that always really got me excited. And I love the fact that there can be bright, colorful personalities, while at the same time very dark undertones and psychologically twisted machinations that motivate them. And that's been one of the really fun things for me about bringing these characters to life.
Let's go again. I don't know anything! Don't!
You're not playing the odds, friend. Let's do it again.
So when I think about creating the character of Thomas Schiff, which was the Joker's thug who was part of the Dark Knight, I think back and it's very hard to describe how absolutely nervous I was. You must understand I was a kid who had collected comic books my whole life, and all of a sudden I was a theater actor who got a chance to audition for one of my favorite directors, one of my favorite film franchises, for one of my favorite villains. So I went into my heart and my memory, and I crafted a character based around my knowledge of what I felt like the inmates of Arkham would represent in the world that, you know, Christopher Nolan was creating. And someone who works for the Joker, to me, was someone who wasn't necessarily always there by choice. I liked the idea of being manipulated by such a master of darkness as is the Joker. So I wanted to create a character where I couldn't speak very well, but I giggled a lot and uncontrollably. So giggling was just a part of what I did. So even if I was scared or I needed help, giggling was what I was going to do. And I think the Joker, I imagined that he liked that about me and enjoyed making me do something out of fear and making everyone else think I was laughing about it, while deep inside, I was actually scared.
Stand down. It's your last chance.
Flash being ruthless. I like it.
Haha, this twisted man who uses technology to come back in time, not necessarily for wealth or even for power, but for approval. Really, that's how I've always understood Abra, because in the comic books, he really does. He wants people to clap for him and give him standing ovations, and defeating the Flash is part of his trick. We did an episode back in maybe 2015 or 16, and I loved getting to be on set and work with everybody, but I didn't feel like we really got to get to the heart of what I loved the most about Abra. So I was so excited when last year they called me and said, we want to bring Abra back. And because of Crisis on Infinite Earth, there was a whole ripple. So getting to come back with new tech and a new wand and cast a spell of malevolence against our favorite speedster was something I'll always treasure. Such a blast.
It's you. It's really you.
So Dwight, looking up to Jerome and seeing all of the misery and the pain that he inflicts upon this city and wanting to emulate that is terrifying. We see it in real life. We see people who are so angry, who are so alone, who are so isolated, who haven't done the work on their mental health or their other, aspects of their personality, and therefore they gravitate towards these cults of personality that are destructive and dangerous, and they want to be like them. There is something really frightening about that, and I love that I got to play Dwight and say to everybody, we are all Jerome, this is us. And of course, thank goodness Gordon and the gang foiled our plans, because it was not going to be good for Gotham.
A killer who only works on holidays. There's lots of crazy out there.
The Calendar Man is like the Hannibal Lecter of this story, and he's a very different character than I've gotten to play before in any other comic book adaptations. He's much more quiet, he's much more still, he's very focused, and he's this very massive, physically intimidating presence. In The Long Halloween Part 2, I'm also getting an opportunity to very briefly bring to life the voice of the Penguin, who is yet another one of my favorite DC characters. And what the Penguin is, who he is, and what he represents in the world of the crime of Gotham is so fantastical and awesome. So I am in geek.
I hope so.
The reality is that there are a lot of people like Abner in the world, people that don't really care or don't know if they should care whether they make it another day, because he is different. I mean, his superhero getup, his name is Polka Dot Man. He's kind of like, how ridiculous is that? How embarrassing is that? And yet that he is part of this team for some reason. A lot of people don't know this, but I was born with a skin condition called vitiligo, so I have spots all over my body. I was very embarrassed about them for my entire life, and I got teased. I was called Polka Dots, and I was called Milk Mustache, and I was called a lot of things as a kid, and I was afraid it would affect my work. James didn't even know about it, and when I showed him, he was like, wow, that's so cool. But the person who helped me turn it around the most, my wife, Eve, when she first met me and we first started dating and she saw my dots and my spots, she thought they were cool and she thought they were hot, and she made me feel good about them. And I try to bring that into Abner as well. Like, own your spots. If you're out there and you got spots that you're embarrassed of, whether they're on the outside or the inside, if you're ashamed of your depression, if you're ashamed of who you are, if you're ashamed of the way you look, coming to realize that you're enough, you're just enough, and you're worth it is such a key to life. And I hope you surround yourself with people who tell you that. And if you're not surrounding yourself with people who tell you that, do that, because it will help so much. When Amanda Waller assembles these teams and puts together her mission and her strategy and her plan, there's no one that really understands or knows why she does what she does other than Amanda Waller. You're at her mercy. So to Abner, why he's been chosen to be a part of this team of elite kind of supernatural or super gifted people is a mystery, and he's going to have to figure out why she picked him. And you'll see that when you go see it.
Well, that's kind of our thing.
I'm a superhero!
The acting legend that is Margot Robbie bringing Harley back to screens, and yet always continuing to find new levels, new layers, new nuances to that character that make her that much more exciting. And all of the other characters, their looks, their powers, their abilities, their performances, they're going to blow everyone away. And I say all of that so you guys know that, to me, the thing that is still going to mean the most to you underneath all of it is these crazy characters' relationships to one another and themselves. When your eyes are this wide because you just saw some visually spectacular thing you've never seen in a movie before, because James Gunn has made magic with this film that's never been done before, when you least expect it, he's going to reach in and pull on your heartstrings in a way that you didn't see coming. That's what I'm most excited about. I can't wait to sit in the theaters with you guys and see the reactions that people have when those moments turn and twist. And dear Lord, I can't wait for the world to discover Daniela Melchior, who's playing the Ratcatcher too. Oh my God, get ready. She's so good, dude.
While David Dastmalchian may be DC's secret weapon, M Night Shyamalan has brilliant kid actors as his. This year, Shyamalan is releasing one of the most unique movies yet with Old, where a group of people trapped on a secluded beach realize that they're aging rapidly, and it's not because they forgot to put on sunscreen. Now, IGN got to talk to Shyamalan about making a tropical horror with some of the most talented young actors today. Let's take a look.
Hi. First off, I just wanted to say I really enjoyed the movie. I was just sitting there so engaged and engrossed with everything I was seeing on there.
Thank you so much.
I wanted to talk about the importance of kids and teenage characters in your movies. You don't leave them out at all the way that, other stories or other directors may do that. Where does that come for you to involve children and younger characters in your films?
I think it's really genuinely what my home looks like. So I have 3 daughters, and they just getting out of their teens, and so that's how I see the world. I'm hearing how they ingest their relationships and the world and politics and what they're scared of and how they navigate things and how they speak, and so it comes out that way. And so it's an important point of view, and I think I've had a lot of strong female characters in my films, I think primarily because there's no male anywhere in our house, anywhere. There's only, show tunes and Friends is on a lot. It's like, the house is very, I'm very oriented to that point of view. So I think, I often take that perspective, and it comes very easy. I'm interested in what they would do and given a fictional situation.
I'm like the eldest of 3 daughters too, so it's very interesting to hear that perspective from you. I would also like to have you speak on the casting of the younger actors for this movie, and especially Alex and Eliza and Thomasin, because they're so great and their careers so far have also been very aligned with horror and thrillers. So I just wanted you to speak about casting them, because they're also so good in this movie.
Oh, thank you. Well, those 3 were critical to the casting. When you're doing a movie like this, where you're doing essentially multi-generational versions of the same character, you have to pick a generation that you're starting with and then cast from there lookalikes that can play them. And so that was the age group that I focused in on. And so Thomasin, Alex, and Eliza were critical finds, and they all auditioned for me, blew me away. And then I kind of Zoomed with them and talked with them and just fell in love with each of them and thought they would work so well together. They each have that kind of edginess, and maybe it is because they're familiar with the genre, or that's where they tack, but they can bring the complexity. I think we really enjoy in kind of historical terms of cinema that when we see performances of depth in a genre piece, that combination is very exciting to people. And you've seen great actors, Anthony Hopkins, et cetera, that have gone into genre pieces and really elevated them. So these 3, we were very, very lucky to have these 3.
So for audiences coming to the theater for the first time like this, maybe their first movie, in a theater after the pandemic, what do you hope they get out of this experience? Because I got to see it in a theater and it was all just, it was a really great experience for me. So what do you hope they get from it, and what message as well?
You know, when we were thinking about when to release the movie and the pandemic hit and thinking about its timing, we were guessing, and we felt this particular movie would be powerful to be, if it was your first movie coming back or one of the first movies, because you get to have that experiential thing that I think is critical to coming out to the movies these days. Was I immersed in the experience? Did I feel like I was on that beach? Can I be one of those members? Did I get that experience of being one of those members on that beach? Once upon a time, you could look at the top 10 movies of all time in the theaters, and they would have been, you could argue they were the most intense experiences that you've had in the movie theaters, whether it's The Exorcist or Jaws or E.T. even. They were super, super intense experiences. So I'm hoping they get that full experience of the sound. We spent so much time making you feel like you were on that beach. Obviously the score and all of the beautiful instruments that Trevor used, and this primal kind of, we were inspired by, you know, Planet of the Apes score and the kind of primal nature of that. And that whole, all of that kind of craftsmanship, when you come to the theater and you're not multitasking and you sit there and let me visually, you know, grab you and then sonically grab you and have this very experiential thing of on the beach. I also think for me, you know, in this kind of second iteration of my making stories, I very much aimed it at kind of almost, you know, younger people's experiences, and in the middle, and having a multi-generational experiences in these stories, whether split and you have the younger and the older versions there. Same thing here. I'm kind of really enjoying doing this, telling stories to two generations together. Quickly
touching upon the cinematography of it, it feels, it's very claustrophobic. It's very, just very personal, and it feels a lot different than your other movies. What was the choice to go with that direction?
Well, I think I was very excited about the cinematic opportunity of being outside and trapped outside, which is such a contradiction. To feel claustrophobic, that you're saying that is amazing, you know, given that it's a beach that's a 1.25 miles long, and, you know, you do feel, I can't get off of this beach. How do you make someone feel that way? We had a lot of principles at work in the cinematography, the choices of cinematography. We used, whether you feel it or not, I tried to bring angular movements in the photography to create shapes on a beach that's amorphous. And so sometimes in a jungle or on a beach or on the water, it's hard to get a grasp of where you are. Everything feels the same. So by doing these angular movements, you're taking advantage of a kind of a cinematic thing called parallax, where movement, your relationship to the background is constantly changing, and it creates this kind of provocative nature, and you understand where you are in space. So we used a lot of angular movements on the beach, which we were really excited about.
All right, well, we're going to take a very quick break, but we've got tons more IGN Live Summer Entertainment Preview. Who knows? We might even get crazy and preview some fall stuff too. Maybe get wild and dip into winter. Maybe go absolutely off the rails and preview spring 2022. Somebody please rein us in. You know, we are madmen here and we can't be stopped. Well, I guess we can momentarily because we're taking a short break, right? Yeah, we're taking a short break. We'll be right back after this.
IGN Live is presented by USAA Insurance and presented by Free Guy. Experience it only in theaters August 13th. Not only is IGN the world's biggest media brand for games and entertainment, but we also have a team of some of the world's biggest fans of your favorite franchises. From breaking news and exclusives, never-before-seen looks at movies and games, to reviews, Let's Plays, and live streams, IGN brings you all the coverage you need, no matter where you are. Whether you're on IGN.com, the IGN app, YouTube, Facebook, or Snapchat, we've always got you covered. IGN, the #1 source for all games and entertainment fans worldwide.
In a world with non-stop news about Marvel, DC, Star Wars, you need a show with accurate reporting, hard-hitting commentary, and
Me, Akeem Lawanson, host of IGN's news show, The Fix Entertainment. Whether it's the latest superhero scoop, film fiasco, or anime announcement, I'll be here covering all the breaking movie, TV, and streaming news that matters most to you. Make sure to catch The Fix Entertainment on IGN for your fix of entertainment news. Let's drop it.
If you're not following IGN on social media, what are you waiting for? We're constantly updating our feeds to bring you the latest news, gameplay, custom original content, the best user-generated videos and art, memes, and a whole lot more. Be part of the conversation throughout the year. Follow IGN on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and Snapchat.
What's up everyone, Sydney here to bring you a little update about the future of IGN on YouTube. We've been listening to your feedback and it seems like some of you are more into games while others are more interested in movies and TV. So we got to thinking about it and decided, why not both? Our main channel will still bring you all the biggest news, reviews, previews, and trailers to keep you up to speed on the most important highlights. But if you only want games content 24/7, head over to IGN Games. Movies and TV more your thing? Check out IGN Movies and TV. More channels, more of the stuff you love, more IGN.
Hello everybody and welcome back to IGN Live's Summer Entertainment Preview. And you know what? It's time to preview some summer entertainment. Well, it might actually not be coming out this summer, but the year is half over and there are lots more big movies still on the way. So joining me to talk about the movies we are most psyched about, Akeem Lawanson and Brian Altano. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. So movies are back, be they in theaters or on the smattering of streaming services. So I figure we could start out by talking about some of the big blockbusters we're going to see across both of those platforms later this year. Some of these we've been waiting a while for. Some of these are actually super brand new things. To name a few, we've got James Gunn's The Suicide Squad very soon on HBO Max and in theaters. Eventually, we're getting Daniel Craig's final outing as 007 in No Time to Die. And then we're also getting 4 Marvel movies, 3 of which are the next MCU installments. And then there's Venom, Let There Be Carnage, which is off in the Sony Cinematic Spider-Verse because of legal reasons. Brian, let's start off with you. What are you most excited about seeing?
I want to talk about Suicide Squad first because this movie just looks like exactly what I want from a comic book movie. It's fun. It's sort of like over the top, violent. A few years back, director James Gunn was, kind of unceremoniously fired from Marvel, went over to DC to make the Suicide Squad. He's since been unfired and is now making Guardians 3. But until then, Suicide Squad is basically, just this giant collection of AAA celebrities who are all going to go on a mission together, many of which will die or explode or get eviscerated or blown up into smithereens. I'm really excited to see the adventure they go on here. I think that he's going to tap into his horror roots a little bit. James Gunn's done some really cool movies in the past. And I really like when comic book movies don't sort of like take themselves too seriously. They're not part of like these massive, sprawling, interconnected universes. There'll be a little bit of that here. But this is just going to be a fun comic book movie, and I cannot wait for it.
Couldn't have said it better myself. I'm super stoked for this. The vibe I'm kind of getting is that this is going to be to the David Ayer Suicide Squad as Deadpool 2 was to X-Men Origins Wolverine. You've got some returning cast members, some familiar faces, but the people behind the wheel are driving considerably more on the road than previous people. Akeem, what about you? What are you most excited about?
Well, jumping over to the Marvel side of things, although I'm super excited for a Suicide Squad, I'm here for Shang-Chi and the Eternals. Honestly, just because I'm curious to see what type of gas is left in the tank for the MCU in Phase 4. Like if it's premium, if it's ultimate, I don't know what they're working with anymore. I think, and I don't know if this is like the general consensus, but like I feel like a lot of us have been going through superhero fatigue at this point. But I'm excited for Spider-Man No Way Home, not because I need another Spider-Man movie in my life. I don't. I just really want to see if the rumors of them exploring like the Spider-Verse is actually going to happen, or, if they'll rope in like the Spider-Man of Christmas Past, like Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield. I just really want them to kind of give us something different and unexpected for this particular outing. And of course, this is like Tom Holland's last outing as Spider-Man in the Sony deal that he had, with one more scheduled appearance in the MCU left in his contract obligation. So, we don't know what'll happen with the Spider-Man property moving forward from here. So, they got to give us something good, like go out with a bang or a thwip, whatever the sound is that the
I believe that's
thing
the
makes.
That's
Yeah,
the
that's
terminology. No, I mean that's a really good point. I really hope we can keep Tom Holland around for some more Spider films. He's so good. But also seeing the Spiders men pop up in that movie will be cool. And also, Doctor Strange is going to show up, which is that's a good Marvel team up right there. Now, speaking of people who are on their last outing because of contractual obligations, Daniel Craig, I maintain, is the best Bond to date. All due respect to Sean Connery, but I think he's completely nailed it. So I'm dying to see No Time to Die. I wasn't dying to see it enough to actually go see it in theaters because that would really be No Time to Die. But it's been a weird time. I also I don't know. I'm curious to see how they do sort of his little swan song there. Marvel stuff is so weird right now because again, Spider-Man is a regardless of how weird they're going to get, is a super known quantity. But I feel like with Shang-Chi and Eternals, it's completely kind of untested waters, and it's going to be curious to see how Marvel kind of gets people excited about those properties. Now, of course, no movie season would be complete without a bunch of stuff that we've seen before that has been repackaged and rebooted as an exciting new thing that is sort of new to us. There's a bunch of sort of reimaginings, reboots, rebookwals, and so on. Brian, which of these many things are you most excited about?
Well, when something dies and returns from the grave, as is usually the case with movies in this category, they don't always get a title like Afterlife, and also have the word ghost in it. But Ghostbusters Afterlife, I have a feeling is going to be a really fun movie. This is a franchise that's always been sort of near and dear to me. I love the animated show as a kid, the toys. I had the glow-in-the-dark bed sheets that were probably toxic and bad for me. But I loved the movies growing up. And then we got that reboot thing a few years ago. It felt totally flat for a lot of people. But I think a big part of that problem was that they catered to that movie to, 30, 40-year-olds, and recentering the Ghostbusters franchise as something that can be fun for kids and adults is something that I think is really smart. You have Jason Reitman, who I trust because, he comes from the family lineage of Ghostbusters, and Paul Rudd, who, generally is likable, does great movies. They're kind of recentering this franchise with a sort of Stranger Things approach. It feels a little kind of Ghostbusters Force Awakens. And I really like the idea of just taking this new generation and showing them this world and getting them excited for it, because I hope the audience has the same reaction. And if I don't like it, maybe kids will.
That sounds good. It's one of the Stranger Things kids is in that. It's Finn Wolfhard's in that, right?
Yeah.
Which is
weird
on the nose. We've already seen him in Ghostbusters cosplays, that's anyway. Akeem, what about you? What are you looking forward to?
Well, I'm looking. There's a couple of horror films that are going to be released later on this year that I'm super excited for. You got Candyman, one of the lesser known horror figures. This one looks like it's honestly taking more of a modern day approach to the story of Candyman. Not necessarily a reboot or a continuation of the franchise, but more of a spiritual successor to the previous films. Nia DaCosta is attached to it, Jordan Peele, so I'm already sold on that. Also, we have Halloween Kills, with the Family Dollar brand, Jason Voorhees, Mike Myers, coming back. No offense. I'm just kidding, everybody, please. Respect the GOAT. He's one of the GOATs. I will say that he's one of the GOATs. He stands up there next to Freddy and Pinhead as well.
I feel like the people behind writing it are they got the right kind of fans attached to be let's do a sequel the way we would have want to see it. So I'm stoked to see about that. And then of course there's Halloween Ends, which is coming out next year, and then we never have to see Halloween again until they reboot it again in 2023 or whatever. Speaking of long-awaited sequels, we're apparently getting The Matrix 4, and we haven't really seen anything for that. So I'm dying with anticipation and curiosity to see exactly how the hell they bring that to life. And then of course there's Dune, which I'm just very excited about. I want a second Dune. I want more Dune, but Dune. Now, speaking of things that are a little bit kind of a tough sell, there's always the movies that are, how would you describe them? The wild cards. Movies that aren't necessarily based on intellectual properties that have been around longer than we've been alive. Actual new concepts. I realize that's a tough sell for a lot of people because it's not like a cereal you ate when you were 3. But, we do have a few that are coming out. Brian, what's a smaller movie you're looking forward to?
Well, I unfortunately did not get Green Knight cereal in the 90s, but it sounds delicious. But I am very excited for the movie The Green Knight. I pretty much go out of my way to watch anything that A24 puts out. I'm really hyped for this movie, even if I'm sort of intentionally not looking at it too much. I don't want to get too spoiled, but basically the long story short of it is Dev Patel is starring as King Arthur's nephew. He has to travel across the land to fight and kill the Green Knight. On the way, he fights monsters and ghosts and probably a bunch of other awesome stuff. And I don't want to say anymore or know anymore because I'm already completely sold. I like movies that sort of feel completely brand new and disconnected from sprawling cinematic universes. And this feels like it could be one of those sleeper hit movies, like one of those movie of the year contenders that people fight about, like if it's divisive or, love it or hate it. Because I know there were movies like The Lighthouse and Annihilation and Mother that were very love it or hate it movies, and I ended up liking all of them. So bring on weird ass artsy films. I want to see them.
I mean, that's technically based on one of the oldest intellectual properties in history, but what? I'll allow it. Akeem, what about you?
I got to say, Last Night in Soho, baby, that is looking so damn good. I honestly wish I could have like lucid dreams about being someone famous in a bygone era to help me shape my present self. And this movie just seems like it's a murder mystery that's being uncovered through the dreams, the lucid dreams of the main protagonist, seen through the eyes of the person she is in the past. I don't know. It's a weird departure for Edgar Wright. Like I remember him for Hot Fuzz. This is like nothing like Hot Fuzz, and I'm totally looking forward to this just because it's something different.
All right, Brian, Akeem, thank you so much for joining me. And for you at home, make sure you stick around because next up we've got a live Canon Fodder. We're going to be talking about Star Wars, like what is Star Wars doing with the High Republic? We're going to break that down, plus Star Wars Visions, which is an anime, and the Book of Boba Fett, which is actually a show, not a book. Stick around. We'll be right back.
IGN Live is presented by Free Guy. Experience it only in theaters August 13th and by USAA Insurance. Not only is IGN the world's biggest media brand for games and entertainment, but we also have a team of some of the world's biggest fans of your favorite franchises. From breaking news and exclusives, never-before-seen looks at movies and games, to reviews, Let's Plays, and live streams, IGN brings you all the coverage you need, no matter where you are. Whether you're on IGN.com, the IGN app, YouTube, Facebook, or Snapchat, we've always got you covered. IGN, the #1 source for all games and entertainment fans worldwide.
In a world with non-stop news about Marvel, DC, Star Wars, you need a show with accurate reporting, hard-hitting commentary, and
me, Akeem Lawanson, host of IGN's news show, The Fix Entertainment. Whether it's the latest superhero scoop, film fiasco, or anime announcement, I'll be here covering all the breaking movie, TV, and streaming news that matters most to you. Make sure to catch The Fix Entertainment on IGN for your fix of entertainment news. Let's drop it.
If you're not following IGN on social media, what are you waiting for? We're constantly updating our feeds to bring you the latest news, gameplay, custom original content, the best user-generated videos and art, memes, and a whole lot more. Be part of the conversation throughout the year. Follow IGN on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and Snapchat.
What's up, everyone? Sydney here to bring you a little update about the future of IGN on YouTube. We've been listening to your feedback, and it seems like some of you are more into games, while others are more interested in movies and TV. So we got to thinking about it and decided, why not both? Our main channel will still bring you all the biggest news, reviews, previews, and trailers to keep you up to speed on the most important highlights. But if you only want games content 24/7, head over to IGN Games. Movies and TV more your thing? Check out IGN Movies and TV. More channels, more of the stuff you love, more IGN.
Year, sometimes more often than that. But lately, Disney and Lucasfilm have pumped the inertial dampers a bit. Now it seems like the Star Wars battle station is about to be fully operational again. So let's talk about the future of Star Wars. Joining me to break it all down, I'm joined by Kim Horscher and Brian Altano. Now, before we get started, just a heads up, we are not shying away from spoiling what's going on in The Bad Batch and Mandalorian Season 2. So if you're not totally up to date, you might want to slip down the garbage chute. You have been warned. So first things first, Bad Batch, which is in the middle of season 1 right now. It's still ongoing, new episodes basically every week. Looks like it's laying some groundwork for the Book of Boba Fett, which is coming out later this year. Kim, what's going on in Bad Batch?
Well, we actually only have one more episode for the season, and it looks like we're probably going to see Crosshairs come back, but maybe Fennec could make a return. Fennec Shand is just one of several Star Wars cameos in the Bad Batch this season. It's been really fun. We've had Harris and Dula. We've had Saw Gerrera looking very different. We've had delicious space popcorn that you could probably buy at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. But it's fun to see her in particular in the early bounty hunting career of her life, trying to apprehend Omega on behalf of the Kaminoan scientist Nala Se, who is essentially trying to save her from being killed. So I'm interested to see how this particular storyline develops, because as we know, Omega is essentially the equivalent of Boba Fett being Alpha, and then we know Fennec is deeply tied to his story too.
Yeah, now the last time we saw live action Fennec, she was hanging out with Boba Fett as he took over Jabba's palace, and I'm guessing that's going to come into play with the Book of Boba Fett, unless that's some kind of a flashback situation. I definitely want to talk about that in a minute, but because we're sort of talking Comic-Con stuff, the big Star Wars presence this week was Lucasfilm blazing new hyperspace lanes in the High Republic era, which is, of course, set a few hundred years before the rise of the Empire. And these stories are mostly being told in, publishing and comics and novels and audiobooks. But some news out of the Star Wars Comic-Con panel is that they're getting ready to launch Wave 3 of High Republic titles. That's 4 brand new titles, kicking it off in January 2022. There's a whole bunch of them. Kim, are you up to date on any of this stuff?
Well, we do know that this is just the latest exploration of the galaxy. It started in a very ideal sort of golden age for the Republic and the Jedi Order, and of course things are getting darker as they tend to do. We have the ominous banner, the light of the Jedi goes dark. So this will be really interesting and just setting up the stage for, I think, a lot more of expansions in the Star Wars universe.
I think you're right. I get the feeling that this is sort of them kind of staking out new territory that isn't tangled up in a lot of existing lore and canon.
Right.
And it'll be curious to see if we're going to get a show in the High Republic or a movie or a game or something, considerably higher budget than what we're getting already.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they're absolutely building the groundwork here so that when there is something, big and in theaters and stuff like that, you'll have supplemental content to go back to. You can go, oh, I love this High Republic movie that now has a visual style guide that they're building out. I'd love to read some comics or some books or some YA novels. There's going to be dozens of those by then. So it'll sort of be like when Game of Thrones came out and all the people who had read the books were like, kind of like, oh, I know what's going to happen next. And we were like, don't say a word.
Star Wars fans do love to be those guys.
Yeah.
Now, looking ahead to the end of this year, Star Wars Visions, which is out September 22nd, is the official Star Wars anime anthology, which looks really, really cool. And I kind of love that this is not like, this is, if it's canon, it's going to be very loosely canon. Like this this reminds me a lot of back when Dark Horse Comics would publish Star Wars Tales, which was just different artists doing different sort of short adventures. And it would be, like a little glimpse of some corner of the galaxy with, a certain amount of artistic license. And this is a bunch of like awesome anime studios getting to kind of cut loose here and go a little bit nuts.
Yeah, we saw sort of closure on the Skywalker saga and, the things that kind of spilled out afterwards that are sort of loosely connected to it. And I think we're starting to see Lucasfilm sort of let go of the reins a little bit and let a lot more creators come in and sort of interpret what they believe Star Wars should be to them. And I think that getting out, new voices and new perspectives on this incredible, gorgeous, wonderful universe is really, really smart. This art direction here is all over the place in the best way possible. It looks inspired and free and really, really interesting and unique and new. And I think that's what Star Wars needs right now. It just needs a bunch of cool new ideas and new characters. And we've gotten enough from Luke and Chewbacca and everybody. And I love those dudes to death. But let's see some new stuff here. And I think that's what they're building up towards.
Yeah, my only sort of problem with this is that I feel like making it just anime is almost limiting it. Like I wish that this was open up to just animation studios worldwide. Maybe we'll get like a different corner of Visions that's more, seeing basically a Star Wars Love, Death, and Robots would be extremely cool. And just seeing like different studios take it on. But this is, I don't know, it's great. It's nice to sort of have like little one-off things when, as opposed to sort of all the very complicated lore and all that. Speaking of which, let's talk about Book of Boba Fett. This is happening this Christmas. It is a I think, limited series. We're kind of vague on some of the details, but it's Robert Rodriguez, I believe, is driving it. I think he's attached at least. He directed the episode that had Boba Fett coming back in Mando season 2. I've been a Boba Fett fan basically my whole life, and it was definitely really exciting to see him coming back, but also weirdly almost anticlimactic because he just kind of came out of nowhere and was like, all right, back to business. And I was like, how'd you get out of the Sarlacc pit, you know? But the Bib Fortuna scene was like, that is probably one of my favorite Star Wars moments, I don't know, since New Star Wars happened.
Yeah, I'm weird because like Bib Fortuna is one of my favorite Star Wars characters. I have like dozens of his toys, or at least 24, however many that they've made. And seeing this character return, seeing Jabba's palace for the first time in decades, like, you know, it after Return of the Jedi, was one of the coolest things ever because it made you think, okay, there are characters that survived that scenario, and Boba Fett returned to probably pick up some money that he was owed, also probably get revenge because he was, you know, unceremoniously tossed into a Sarlacc pit, and none of his, you know, old coworkers came to save him. Apparently, we'll find out. But it was so cool to see these characters return and to see him sit on Jabba's throne and take over, and hopefully, I don't know, bleach the place a little bit because I'm sure it stinks in there. Was one of the coolest moments in Star Wars history for me.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's also, I guess I have a lot of questions like what next? You know, like it's possible Book of Boba Fett is going to give us some backstory into sort of what Boba Fett's been up to post Sarlacc, or, you know, during Sarlacc. I really hope that we get just some info on that. I really want to see that. But it's also like, what is he going to do moving forward? You know, because that's what's really interesting about sort of the Mandalorian time period, is that it's close enough to the original trilogy that there's a lot of sort of, you know, stuff is, you know, there's bits and pieces of the Empire still hanging around. There's sort of remnants of familiar concepts, but like, what's Boba Fett going to do? Like, is he going to run a criminal empire? Is he going to, you know, take over Gus Fring's like spice operation? Sorry, wrong show. But yeah, I mean, it's exciting, you know.
There is spice in this universe,
Yeah.
so you're only half wrong. But I think that's exciting to think about because, I mean, part of this is just filling out Boba Fett's story even more than we've seen it before, and this is maybe the best exploration I've ever seen. So I certainly have high hopes for it.
Now,
Go
ahead.
No, go for it.
I was going to say, we've seen a thing with sort of recent Star Wars stuff, which is very much introducing a lot of new characters. I mean, obviously the sequel trilogy had kind of a victory lap for a lot of sort of bigger characters, but I really wish we'd get some sort of D-listers coming back. Like, I want to see, look, I'll just say it, I want to see Dengar. I want to know what Dengar is up to. You know, he popped up in Clone Wars, voiced by Simon Pegg. Like, I want to see him, I don't know, I want to see post original trilogy Dengar. Like, what's his relationship with, like, what is Boba Fett's relationship with any of the, you know, the Executor Bridge bounty hunters? You know, like, that's been explored extensively in the, you know, now Legends expanded universe, but like, I don't know, bring back Zuckuss.
And I mean, we know that they're not afraid to put weird deep cut characters into the Mandalorian, and so if this is a sort of spin-off adjacent show to that, I mean, that had an IG unit in IG-11. It had, you know, Gamorrean guards pit fighting and stuff like that. I think there's an opportunity for that here. The Mandalorian was always interesting to me because it took sort of like a corner deep pocket of Star Wars and dug down into it, right? It's more to the outer rim, to the weird seedy bars, some of my favorite parts. And so I think Boba Fett's going to dig even deeper into that weird criminal empire. I don't really necessarily see him being a good guy or anything like that, but he's going to be dealing with some really scummy dudes, maybe even more so than we saw with Mando. And that's going to be super cool, you know? This is not going to be a babysitting show, basically.
Kim, let's talk about Fennec Shand, because she's been popping up in the Bad Batch. Like, what do you see that line being from the Bad Batch to, you know, to Book of Boba Fett?
I mean, when we meet her in the Bad Batch, she is very early in her career. Someone says to her, you don't have the experience to come up against me. And here we're at the, you know, she's gone through the rise and fall of the Empire at this point, and she's a very different person. I mean, I'm that's why I'm so curious about her relationship with Omega, and then perhaps her relationship with Boba Fett could start early. I don't know how far the Bad Batch will actually end up going. But I would she's an example of a really interesting character to just kind of just develop out of modern lore and then just spread out, proliferate throughout the universe.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, obviously, this is just one of the many Star Wars projects that's in the works right now. We've heard bits and pieces about Obi-Wan filming. We've got lots of casting rumors about that, which sounds awesome. I wonder if that's going to sort of, again, I think the biggest sin of Mandalorian season 2 was trying to sort of seed too many other spin-off shows, like trying to build up sort of other, new projects. But I sort of hope that Obi-Wan is almost, not in a vacuum, but the big problem with a lot of Star Wars stuff is that eventually everyone seems like they know each other, and it's like it's a galaxy. Stretch out, get weird, get big. Yeah, and then of course, I mean, we're gonna get Mando season 3 at some point, and we're gonna find out what what Grogu's up to. There was actually an image that popped up on an official Star Wars T-shirt, and a lot of people are talking about this because that seems to show Luke teaching Grogu how to make a lightsaber, but I mean, jury's still out on that.
I'm in.
We have some questions. I think he's too young. 50 years old, it's going to put someone's eye out. It's no good. Now, Brian, Kim, thank you so much for taking the time to talk about Star Wars, and thank you to everyone watching at home for hanging out with us for the IGN Summer Entertainment Preview. We have more fun live stuff in the works, and if you don't have anything going on August 25th, mark your calendar, because Jeff Keighley's Opening Night Live will be kicking off 3 days of Gamescom Studio Live with a closer look at a ton of new video games, plus probably a few surprises, video games we don't even know exist. And you can find all of that right here on IGN. So thanks again from all of us here at IGN, and a huge thanks to everyone behind the scenes for making this happen. We'll see you soon. Good night, everybody.
IGN Live is presented by USAA Insurance and presented by Free Guy. Experience it only in theaters August 13th.
If you're not following IGN on social media, what are you waiting for? We're constantly updating our feeds to bring you the latest news, gameplay, custom original content, the best user-generated videos and art, memes, and a whole lot more. Be part of the conversation throughout the year. Follow IGN on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and Snapchat.
In a world with non-stop news about Marvel, DC, Star Wars, you need a show with accurate reporting, hard-hitting commentary, and
me, Akeem Lawanson, host of IGN's news show, The Fix Entertainment. Whether it's the latest superhero scoop, film fiasco, or anime announcement, I'll be here covering all the breaking movie, TV, and streaming news that matters most to you. Make sure to catch The Fix Entertainment on IGN for your fix of entertainment news. Let's drop it.
Competition brings out the best in all of us. Well, mostly.
Oh, that's a controller break.
That's unfortunate. Welcome to IGN Compete, where we bring you the stories behind the esports headlines.
Reigning world champions!
From the triumphs
Daryl takes the game
to the hardships
It's not heavy.
to the miracle moments that will go down in history.
I just can't believe it!
It's crazy. It's all here on IGN Compete.
God, I'm in disbelief!